Good afternoon, YouTube. My name is Greg. I'm from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. Just going to do a quick video here to give everybody kind of a heads up. The state test is coming up again. It's already 2019. We're already into February. Today it's going to be 60 degrees. It's February 5th or 6th or something like that. Today it's going to be 60 degrees, and it's kind of a reminder that spring has sprung. We're still not really halfway into winter, but spring is still sprung. And it's a good time to start cracking out some papers and pens and pencils and getting to work with your kids. Do it yourself, having the kids do it, hiring a tutor. I'm available, obviously. Common Core is still here. The state might revise things in a year or two, but right now this is what we have, and it's part of the standardization process and something we need to deal with. So just kind of reminder that the ELA test is April 2nd and 3rd, which is faster than you think. You're saying, okay, we're in the beginning of February. The problem is you have the spring break, which is going to be from the 18th onward, I think, for a week there. And that kind of gap kind of throws things off, and the next thing you know, it's already March, and you really only have March to do with it. So there's not a lot of time, especially if you hire a tutor. Some families do 3 times a week, but if you do less than that, 2 times a week, or even 1 time a week, you're only talking about 5 times. It's really not a lot of time. Even if you do 2 hours at a time, which I would recommend, it's not a lot of time. And there's a lot of info on the tests, and the tests don't always reflect what's going on in the classroom. In fact, they often don't reflect what's going on in the classroom. They can be exact opposites, not only depending on the school, but testing is different than classroom atmosphere. And there's different premises and different things. They're supposed to align at some point, but they actually never do. So there's all that issue. There's the concerns about the rigor, and the tests can often be confusing. When the Common Core test came out, kids were already having problems with the testing. In Common Core, it added a few more dimensions onto it. I like to start from the ground up and build up to that, because then the child is less confused, but there's a plethora of ways to do this. In any event, that's going to be the next test, and the math test is going to be May 1st to 2nd, which has the same problem, which is that actually I said the spring recess is February. That's the midwinter recess. The spring recess is April 19th to the 26th. So you're going to have kind of the same problem. If you kind of wait now, it's like, oops, you're going to be stuck with that. And the next thing you know, you really only have March to do it. And then April's going to start. They're going to take the ELA. And then 2 weeks later, basically, they're going to have the week off. And the next thing you know, whoops, it's already time for the math. So you kind of don't want to do that. And what you really want to do is, it's weird because historically, I find kids have a tougher problem with the math. On the same note, kids can do more poorly on the ELA. So what we really want to do is balance the 2 of them out, be prepping for both of them in unison, realizing that the ELA test is actually a month before the math test. So you don't want to focus completely on the math, even though your child may be having an issue with that, because you don't want to forget about the ELA. And especially it depends what grade your child is in. Grade 4 is more important because if your child is going to go to middle school, it's the grade 4 grades that matter. Same with if you're going to go into high school, it's the 7th grades that matters. There's also some dispute about what's happening with the SHSAT, the Specialized High School Admissions Test. That may or may not have modifications made to it depending how it's done, and they may start incorporating the state test into that. I'm assuming for now that's going to be the grade 7 state test. So that may have more significance now than ever. Whereas, if that's something you're shooting for, you may want to spend more time involved in that. And it's going to reflect your child's grades too, perhaps too. There's just proposals floating around. None of this is agreed to. It actually, in fact, requires a agreement by the state legislature to pass a bill. So it's actually part of a law. So some of this just can't be done willy-nilly. In any event, there's a bunch of issues here. I hate to use the word high stakes, but some of this can be high stakes. And if your child's doing well in class, then I would support that and keep that up. A lot of parents opt out of the state tests. I was never keen on the state tests but I also feel that since they exist, that you should try to make that effort to have your child take it. They're going to have challenges throughout their life. Most standardized tests are unfair at some level, so you have to deal with that at some point. You know, you don't have the option to opt out of everything in life, and this is one opportunity to do that. Do a table flip. That said, again, it's only one data point in your child's life, so you have to make a compromise and make a balance out. So my suggestion is that students do take it, and there's ways to enhance test taking skills and so on. But the truth of the matter is, I like to think of the state test as a good summary of the grade, and if that your child is not doing some of those things, they haven't mastered the issues, and to move on to the next grade or even to finish the same grade is tough. Really what we're talking about is, because the state test used to be given later in the year, now that's been given kind of past the middle. It's if your child's in, say, grade 5 and they're taking the grade 5 state test, they're not being tested on grade 5 material because they haven't finished it. There's still a couple of months left. So they're being tested really on grade 4, maybe a little bit of grade 5. So it's really the past stuff. So that stuff they should master. And just a few comments. A lot of kids cannot write the essay. They are totally lost on how to do that. There's some reasons why. A lot of kids still do not know the multiplication table. This is something a lot of kids learned at the end of grade 2, certainly through grade 3. So if your child's still having an issue in grade 4, grade 5, even in middle school, grade 6, 7, and 8, there's a lot of kids counting with their hands and figured out alternative strategies to doing multiplication. These are all good. I think you should pursue those alternates, but not when they're the only choice. There's so many things where, 9 times 6, just do it. Just do it. And this not only affects standardization things, but it's when your child's at a store or they're trying to figure out a discount of an item or whatever the case may be, just trying to get the change from $1. These are all things that they can't start wiggling fingers and so on when there's alternate ways to do this, including memorization. These are things I think anybody can agree that if you ask a child 2 plus 2, really at many ages, certainly grade 2, even kindergarten, most kids are going to just say 4. They're not going to compute 4. It's something they put in their memory, and it's going to be with them for the rest of their life. So something like multiplication should work that same way. And in middle school, in a grade 3er should know 12 times 12. When you're hitting 8th grade, you should know really up to 14, 15, or 16 times 16. And there's certain patterns that evolve and stuff. Like, 15 times 15 comes up a lot, especially on homework examples. And if you have a hard homework, you don't want the hard part to be things like multiplication. You want the hard part to be trying to decipher the problem. Instead of having, so there's like an onion, there's layers of complexity here. And if you can get rid of some of the fundamental stuff, some of the other stuff goes away. And then again, my name is Greg. I'm from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. This is some of the stuff I can help your children with. I know this education is tough. Parents are often confused. I am often confused, although I have figured out a lot of things. And there's a lot of ways to enhance the process and make it enjoyable for your child. Some people say fun shouldn't have anything to do with it. Technically, I agree with that, but you need to do things in a child-friendly way, and you need to do things so that you're progressing. You don't want to be yelling at your kids. You want to have a mechanism that's working, that's rewarding for your child, and they can feel proud about themselves and just move on. Okay, and anyway, I'm starting to ramble and philosophical entities here. So my main crux of the matter is, before you know it, the state test is going to be here, especially because we have the 2 breaks thrown in the middle, and it kind of throws kids off because you have class, and then all of a sudden you're off a week. And when you come back, everybody's kind of whatever. It's also in the middle of the year where everybody kind of, even some teachers start slowing down, and it's a point where you don't want to do that, okay? You've all gotten a few report cards at this point. You know what the deal is with your child. You should have at least a vague understanding, if not a better than a vague understanding, of the concerns and the strengths and weaknesses of your child. This is something I can work with you on. But in any event, here's the deal. The state test is here. It's coming up, and it's going to hit before you know it. So that's really my message today. Everybody have a good day, and peace out.